Welcome back, everyone, to Civil Disobedience TV. I'm your host, George Donnelly. We've had an absolutely spectacular day of interviews, so many great people, so many interesting things to say and hear. And now we have Pete and Adam from Liberty on Tour. Welcome, guys. How you doing?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having us.
It's a real pleasure. Always
Well,
a
good to be
pleasure
with
to
you,
have you
George.
guys. So, for those members of our audience who aren't familiar with your work,
It's always great talking with you, too.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourselves?
Sure. I'm 30 years old. My name's Pete Aaron. I'm an activist, self-described as a voluntarist. I worked in went to school for law enforcement, worked in the think tank world in D.C. for a bit, some outlets there, and then decided to hit the road to have a bigger impact. So teamed up with this guy and one of your previous guests, Jason Talley from Motorhome Diaries in '09. Last year, Ademo started Cop Block early in the year, so that project's going strong. And then we hit the road with Liberty on Tour last year, and essentially that's what we want to do. We want to bridge the internet and real world connections, and sometimes that means we interact with folks who enforce man-made dictates rather than let us go about our ways. But
exactly, my name is Adam Miller, but I'm going by Ademo Freeman these days, and I'm a 28-year-old libertarian activist. Focusing more on the voluntarist aspect of voluntary interactions as opposed to man-made regulations. And as Pete mentioned, I founded a website called copblock.org, which I think really puts the rubber to the road with people enforcing unjust laws to the people who resist them. So it's me in a nutshell.
Sweet, yeah, and I can you vouch, for these guys. They do spectacular work. I mean, these are some of the best liberty activists around. They just got done touring the country, where they went around to I think 13 or 14 cities over the summer and talked to people all over the nation. It was really impressive, and here they are back at work again after their Liberty on Tour project. You can find the videos they did there at libertyontour.com. So guys, tell us, what unjust laws or illegitimate authorities have you guys disobeyed recently?
Well, recently, there's so many. I've had a driver's license in 4 years, so I guess every time I get behind the wheel, I'm disobeying a law that says you need to have this license, this piece of paper or plastic to drive a vehicle. And really, I listened to Talley's interview where he said that it actually doesn't stop you from starting the car, and that's a very true statement. And my driving skills are just fine, and I haven't had any problems. So that's something I do on a regular basis.
he's actually one of the best drivers that I know. But yeah, I don't know. They say there's so many regulations and man-made legislation today that the average person, I don't know, breaks 4 felonies a day or something and multiple misdemeanors. It's impossible to go through your daily life without breaking some legislation, and I think that's why it's important that you're spearheading this civil disobedience project, this TV today, because just to showcase that you're not a bad person for not abiding by some man-made dictates, as long as you're not hurting anybody else. So essentially, that's what we try to do every day. And, irregardless of whatever text is on a piece of paper or symbol with the badge tells us.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of counting how many unjust laws I've violated or civilly resisted, I'd rather go with every day I can say I haven't harmed anybody or I haven't committed fraud and I've treated people with respect, and I count that as one day.
Yeah, and I think even the people who disobey.
Yeah, especially we just want to live. We just want to be good.
Sorry, and yeah, the people who disobey unjust laws. I think it takes an even greater moral character to say this law is wrong. I know it's wrong. Here's why it's wrong, and I'm going to disobey it. That's an even greater statement of moral courage and conviction than saying, well, it's the law, so I guess I'll just have to do it. So,
Yes, exactly. It's an issue that comes up often.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, it comes up often. If some folks want to check out a video that we did over in Philadelphia covering some FIJA outreach, which you're well aware of, and you were actually present this day. There's 2 DHS officers. It's libertyontour.com/Philly FIJA. I believe is a short URL, or a simple search at libertyontour.com. We'll find that video. But there's 2 DHS officers sitting there, and we're talking about marijuana. And I'm a cigarette smoker, so I pulled out a cigarette and lit it up. And I said, I can do this, but if this was something I grew at my home, or wanted, it's the same act of putting something in my body, and yet you would arrest me for it. And they verified and how they've arrested a lot of people over that, and so on. So yeah, there's a real paradigm where what some people say is wrong and what they're willing to get you to do to not do it, as opposed to those who believe in true freedom and your body, your choice, and other things. So.
Amen. So the first few times you guys consciously did this, did you struggle with the decision to disobey unjust laws or illegitimate authorities, or did it come easy to you?
I mean, for myself, one of the first times, I guess, one of the reasons people are maybe hesitant to do what they feel is right, but violates man-made legislation, is because they're scared. They're scared of the repercussions. But fortunately, in our cases, and in a lot of cases of viewers and other people you've interviewed, this community is growing, and the fact that we're there to support each other and say, no, this isn't wrong, they're not hurting anybody, and we keep the pressure on the folks that are using aggressive force against us for engaging in peaceful actions, really gives us and everybody else who's doing this stuff a lot of support. I mean, it makes a difference, because if no one is aware of what's going on, they can easily violate your rights to, in certain nation states, some governments, disappear people or kill people outright for questioning their authority. And fortunately, we're not to that stage here in the States yet, but it makes it all the more important why we stand up for every iteration when someone tries to usurp our rights, so we don't get to that point.
Yeah, and for me, I've always been one to question authority. I mean, I remember in high school, bells ringing and teachers saying these things, or even if you would question the text or the teachings of the day, I would. It was just always something. I think I've been better at directing my things to more noble causes. I mean, in school, I was, for the most part, voluntarily there, but these other issues that the state puts on you, I guess I'm just better questioning the authority in a better realm and on a more principled basis. So I've always been one to ask why, when, where, and I think I just grew up with that. So it's been easy for me.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, I got kicked out of a class once in high school because I questioned the teacher a little too much. And then I got suspended another time for distributing a little pamphlet that, told a kind of a nasty story of corruption that I had witnessed at the school. It's funny how these things are kind of, how you can see these things play out at a school. For example, when that happened to me, I was just exercising my First Amendment rights. It was a public school, but I was suspended. And the reason for the suspension was distribution of unauthorized materials. So, this, anyway. So are you guys...
Yeah, I got a detention once in high school for questioning the teacher on the time. I questioned the teacher on time, and she couldn't give me the right answer, so she sent me to the principal's office.
Wow.
I remember thinking how ironic it was when I was in detention, because the teacher couldn't give me the right answer. I had to go to detention, And I was a student who was inquisitive on where the real time came from, and whatever. So it's just for example.
Yeah, we even see that today. Again, we're against. I guess I shouldn't say we're against things. We're pro-choice. We're pro-individual freedom. And that oftentimes runs up against the institution that's based on violence, the state, the government. And, to echo Ademo's experience in high school, we got one of the arrests we had in this past year was in July in Greenfield, Massachusetts. And, we've been trying to get accountability, trying to get answers, not just about our specific case, but about the procedures even And despite well over, I think, 100 phone calls between the two of us to everybody, like the DA and everybody involved, stopped by the mayor's office, even tried to call the cops. Last Monday we were in court, and again it was a complete stonewall. They didn't answer any of our questions, and they just told us to come back in 6 weeks. And it was like, don't we pay your guys' salaries? Can't we even get any straight answers? And it just underscores the arbitrariness of these with legislation that they and the fact they purport to work for us, yet they're so unaccountable. So
I think it also highlights too that we were civilly disobedient to their rules on filming, and now they've hit us with these huge charges. But there was 20-some people there in support of us. We've gotten lots of emails, even a few donations, which we really appreciate. But it goes to show that just imagine if we had 500 more people in an area doing the same civil disobedience. I mean, if 2 people can have this much of effect, imagine what a lot of people would do. I think we'd really get some changes. Like the war on drugs is a big one. I've long been an advocate for people to take their drug use to the streets, not in a statement that that's where we want to use drugs and things, but more of a way to direct action, overcrowd the jails, and at the end of the day, solve the problem with the war on drugs by having them remove these laws and become more free in the process. But it'd be a lot quicker than using the political process, a lot cheaper, and it would get done a lot quicker. I mean, people and direct action is the most efficient way, I believe.
Amen. Amen. So, are you guys against all laws, or wait? Did I ask you this question already? All right. Hey, have you guys had any criticism from friends and family about the choices that you've made to disobey these unjust laws?
Sure. Yeah, I have. I definitely have grown apart from some friends that I consider real close. Like in high school, part of it's just like different professions and family, not being around each other geographically, but it is an ideas issue as well. And I tried to broach these subjects with people close to me, friends and fans. And, some of them are real receptive, but others, they feel like, oh, you're letting this control your life. And my question to them is, well, after walking through that the state is based on force, it says everybody that lives within these arbitrary political boundaries, we have a right to steal from and provide a monopoly of goods or services to them, even if they want them or not. And if you don't abide by their dictates, then they have the right to throw you in a cage. And if that happens, most other people are like, oh, well, they got what was coming to them. But why is that? So, we're out there. We're just trying to communicate the fact that no one has extra rights. And today, in government schools and in the mainstream media and elsewhere, that's constantly hammered home as a sacrifice the individual to the collective. You see these ads for the military, the war machine the state has that say like be part of something greater than yourself, and all sorts of stuff. And that leads us down to the road to serfdom. So like we're just trying to get out there, and I know like our particular brand of activism may not be for everybody, but which is why in these conversations with friends and family, I just try to have make the soft sale and ask them like, at what point would you be willing to use violence against me, and really personalize it, because I think at the end of the day, most people are good people, and they don't want to use force against others, whether for moral reasons or like I guess economic arguments about it, if it makes sense to incarcerate someone for peaceful actions. But at the end of the day, everyone's got a different issue that they'll respond to, a different tone that may work for them or not. So I encourage everybody who's watching this now, if you're not, a lot of folks are already activists and doing things on their own, but just get active, try things. I would love for us to someone out there right now to just be the catalyst to change everything, and quite possibly that person's watching, or maybe we're all working together. So.
Right. Yeah, I think we're both real lucky to have fairly supportive families for the most part. We do get our little things, but I think in answer to the question, our comments. We get a lot of comments on YouTube that, especially when searching our property or persons, about if you don't have anything to hide, let them do it. Quit breaking the law, and you wouldn't have this problem, And so I think there is a divide on some people, and I don't know if that's from indoctrination of the schools or a lot of the interactions at Cop Block. It turns out that some of the folks have family members or really close friends that are police officers, so it's personal to them. And really, like Pete said, we're just trying to have people understand their wallets, the principle and the morales behind some of the issues. So, I mean, it's out there. I think over time, our ideas can be very successful. I think they're the best overall and in the long run. And I think even officers are starting to see that. And if the ones that aren't, the day is coming where the line is going to be drawn of, do you arrest peaceful people? And a lot of the times it could be for an act that is being, that officer is doing themselves at home. I mean, I've had a lot of officers that I've asked, would you arrest people for having a blanket if blankets were illegal? And they've told me yes, because it's the law. And then when I asked them, would they use a blanket at home to like keep their children warm, they'd also would tell me yes. So, you know, I mean, to them it's strictly a job, but at some point that's going to become a reality, and it's not just a simple yes or no answer.
Right, and eventually with the continued growth and invasiveness of the state and you know, restriction or denial of choices, more and more people are going to be negatively impacted by it, and they're going to eventually have to like decide, come down one way or the other. Do I want to shirk my responsibility and freedom and have things provided from cradle to grave and have a level of equality that's equal, but that's like a level of misery, you know, or do we want to allow for individual choice and a dynamic society? And also, I mean, we got to look at, like, we have a powerful tool today, the internet, and we're able to eliminate geographical boundaries. In the past, states have been able to solidify their control over populaces by controlling the information and destroying information that's threatening to them. And you know, even today, I just saw Freedom's Phoenix sent out an email, and this is a Department of Defense press release, and their spokesperson, it says Department of Defense General Counsel. You know, this is like the state trying to control rhetoric and trying to cause misinformation and cause people to look to them to provide for them. You know, and so this is a press release about the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, and the DoD spokesperson says MLK, if alive today, would live in a complicated world, and our nation's military should not and cannot lay down its arms and leave the American people vulnerable to terrorist attack. And I don't know, I'm no MLK expert, but from what I know of him, I don't think he would be in favor of the wars, the aggressive wars the U.S. government is perpetuating right now. And I know there's a lot of folks that are anti-war out there, so if you really want to make a difference, stop funding this criminal organization and encourage others to do the same.
Nicely said, guys. Yeah, that thing about MLK would support the wars. You know, that broke the ridiculous meter. You know, it's. I mean, if you look back at Gandhi, he supported, I think it was World War I, but only because he felt that was a tactic he needed to endorse in order to have the British on his side. But at the same time, when he participated, he only participated, right, you know, as like an ambulance person, as helping people who are injured. And by no means do I think he or folks like Henry David Thoreau or Martin Luther King, I don't think they would endorse this kind of war because, you know, honestly, it is not a war of defense. It's a war of aggression, bald-faced aggression, and it is unjust to the max. So I got a couple questions from...
no, absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I got a couple questions from viewers for you. Bryce asks, if you guys have one person, dead or alive or fictional, who you would consider an influence on your activism, your liberty activism?
I mean, Gandhi's a good one for me. I like his... acts when he's incarcerated. You know, I try to instill those. I mean, I'm inspired by a lot of the people that have been in New Hampshire. You know, Wes Freeman, Ian Freeman, Smeg McLean, Sam Dotson. You know, Jason Talley even, and the great stuff he's doing. I mean, him and both Pete were mentors to me. So, I mean, it's a loaded question, and there's lots. So,
yeah, I don't know. I guess. Who would I point to? I don't know. Lysander Spooner's a big influence, I think, for his time, you know, and even today, his writings hold strong. And going back further, like, I don't know. I think to be an effective activist, you should have a good grounding in the foundation of these ideas of liberty. So I look to like Gustave Demolinari and like all these guys that like the C4SF.org and some other folks point to quite a bit. So I don't know. As for individuals, Charlie, the Love Police over in England, I love that kind of stuff. I think being positive, pays dividends. It's gonna be the thing that turns the tide. So I know it's easy to every day point to, the state's doing that, and the state's doing this, and this is what happened. But really, like the state can write whatever they want on a piece of paper, and it doesn't mean anything. So if you quit believing that the state all of a sudden has this authority because they put it on a piece of paper, like we're the people who say it's the great fiction, to quote Bastiat. So why do we pay it any tribute and all of a sudden believe that they all of a sudden have this authority? Like, we have to be the first people to say no more if we truly believe that.
Okay, another question from Bryce. He wants your opinions on nonviolence versus violence as a means for action-oriented protest.
I mean, I'm all about the nonviolence as far as like in protesting my activism. I don't think we're anywhere near a point where, I love what Keeniacs tried to do in Keene last year. They sat around a police car. I think, a peaceful demonstration like that is awesome. But I don't know if or when I would be ready to, aggressively go against the state, at least on an individual basis. There's a bigger thing or there's plenty of issues, but as of now and how things stand, I'm fine with using the camera as a tool. The camera doesn't lie. I'm not harming anybody. I will not resist or assist in kidnappings of mine, and I will try to be as peaceful as possible when being detained by the man. But if force is used against me, that's the big thing for me is the initiation of force. And if like physical force or something severe, I don't know if I was in Las Vegas jail, they roughed me up a little bit, and like if they would have really been beating me up to the point where I thought, I would be trying to do anything to survive. So I can't really give a clear answer, but for the most part, peaceful activism with the camera as my weapon that will show who's really using the force in the room.
Yeah, I generally echo what Ademo said with some caveats. We watched a short documentary called Sir No Sir about American soldiers in Vietnam who did mutiny essentially against their commanding officers, and that coupled with the Duggan enemy were the things that caused the United States government to withdraw from Vietnam rather than unpopular and attitude here in the States and protests and things like that. People were taking over police stations, universities, that in the States, and that was not what was changing the U.S. government's stance. It was the fact that people that they sent over there, that they drafted, that they said, you're a slave to us essentially. Now go shoot these people that you don't even know, that have never harmed you. So they sent these people over there, and a lot of them said, no, we're not going to do this. And there was shootings of officers and frag grenades, and those were the things that caused the U.S. war machine to come to a halt over there. And then in addition, I recently read a book by a left anarchist called Peter Gelderloos. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but and I bought that this fall when I bought Gandhi's autobiographies to juxtapose the two. And I actually have a blog post coming out on this soon. But essentially, Peter Gelderloos says in this book, How Nonviolence Protects the State, that while violence should not be the preferred or only option on the table, it shouldn't be excluded automatically, because he says it is violence that costs the state more. And he points to, again, Vietnam. He points to Native American movements. He points to prisoners demanding better prison conditions, all sorts of things as to cases when the use of violence, which I and some other people would maybe consider defensive violence, was justified. I'm not saying right now, right now my preferred tactic is peace, but I think everybody has, we're all individuals, we all have our own subjective lines, and, I can understand why someone, like, if again, to go back to the last question, if someone, if we stop granting the state authority, we need to stop saying, oh, all of a sudden they have this police power, they have this or that. Like, we have to be the first people. So when we as activists interact with state agents who violate our right, are we not granting them more authority when we go limp and when we when we're peaceful, rather than, like, I know if Ademo and I were walking down the street and 8 dudes jumped him, I'd be right there and I'd do whatever I could, even if I was sure I'd be getting beat down. Like, they're not doing it easily. But so like, why do we act differently to folks with badges? And right now I think because we act to for the larger audience, most folks who haven't thought about these ideas, so they can clearly see, wow, these guys are really peaceful, they're calm, they're collected, and these guys are barking orders and threats and taking their property. So that's, I think, where we can be the most effective today as activists.
But yet at some point, the other line could be drawn.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see this hat, but, it's kind of like the traditional Gadsden, but it says time's up. So.
Excellent. Time is indeed up, and I thank you guys for participating today. It's been a real pleasure to speak with you. Do you guys want to plug any projects before we go?
I mean, just the usuals. You can find us at copblock.org along with the other great folks. There's about 11 of us over there. Feel free to check out the contributors tab and libertyontour.com.
Yeah, and I'll just mention Copblock has a new podcast, so that's getting these ideas out there in a whole new medium. So good work with that, guys.
Yep. And Ethan, who's doing the hitchhiking over at Liberty on Tour. So we got a few more ideas and some more projects coming up. So stay tuned.
That's excellent, guys. I look forward to it, and I wish you a good evening, and I'll talk to you again soon.
All right.
All right. Take care. Thanks, George.
Okay. Bye, guys.